Manufacturers want you to believe that newer always means better. They want you to think that without GPS-grade control, touchscreen displays, and telematics dashboards, a bulldozer is worthless. But out on real job sites, in mines, forests, quarries, and construction zones across the world, there are machines decades old that are pushing more dirt, working more hours, and costing less per yard than brand new equipment that sells for $500,000. Today, we're exposing the legend. These are 10 old bulldozers that still outwork new models. Number 10. The Caterpillar D7G, 1974. Let's start with a machine that has earned its legendary status across 6 decades of continuous service in some of the most demanding environments on Earth. The Caterpillar D7 series began in 1938 and has remained in continuous production through multiple generations all the way to the present day, one of the longest unbroken production runs in heavy equipment history. But it is the D7G, introduced in 1974 with a 200 horsepower engine and updated hydraulics, that stands as the single most famous member of this family. The D7G was a workhorse in the truest sense of the word. It was medium-sized, not the biggest bulldozer on the job site, not the smallest, but it hit a sweet spot of power-to-weight ratio that made it extraordinarily versatile. It could clear land, build roads, push scrapers, cut drainage ditches, and rip rock with a single rear ripper. It was simple enough to be maintained by field mechanics in remote locations, yet powerful enough to make a real difference on construction, forestry, and agricultural projects of virtually any scale. The military noticed this early. The United States Army used armored D7G bulldozers to clear minefields. Unarmored D7G and D7H versions were used for earthworks across multiple theaters. The U.S. Marine Corps operated D7Gs as their primary combat engineering dozer until 2009, meaning the Marine Corps was still relying on a design concept rooted in the mid-1970s well into the 21st century, when they finally replaced them with the John Deere 850J MCT. The U.S. Army currently fields around 1,300 D7Rs, the direct successor to the D7G, in a combination of armored and standard configurations. On civilian job sites, D7Gs from the 1970s and early 1980s are still turning up regularly. They handle the work of modern mid-sized dozers at a fraction of the operating cost. The elevated drive sprocket undercarriage introduced on later versions reduced maintenance intervals, and the mechanical systems are so well understood that rebuild costs are predictable and manageable. Ask any experienced operator what they'd choose for a mixed-use job on a tight budget, and the D7G still comes up in the conversation every time. Number 9. The Caterpillar D8H. If there is one bulldozer that can genuinely claim to have changed the face of the world, it is the Caterpillar D8H. First introduced in 1958, the D8H hit the market at an extraordinary moment. The Interstate Highway System construction program was underway in the United States. Dam projects, steelworks, and industrial complexes were being built across America and around the world. What was needed was a bulldozer powerful enough to handle this scale of work, reliable enough to operate in remote locations without constant factory support, and innovative enough to give operators the control they needed to work productively. The D8H delivered on all 3 fronts. It weighed over 47,000 pounds. It was powered by a 235 horsepower turbocharged diesel engine, later upgraded to 270 horsepower, around 1965. The cab design was genuinely innovative for its era, prioritizing operator comfort and usability in a way that had not been done before at this scale. The result was a machine that was immediately accepted as the industry standard for large earth-moving applications. The numbers tell the story best. The D8H remained in production for almost 15 years, an extraordinary run in an industry where models typically cycle every 5 to 8 years. During those 15 years, more than 50,000 D8H tractors were delivered to customers around the world. 50,000 units of a single large bulldozer model is a staggering production figure, and it explains why D8Hs are still regularly encountered on job sites today, more than 6 decades after the first one rolled off the production line in Peoria, Illinois. They work in construction, forestry, mining, quarrying, and waste management. Their durability is legendary. The mechanical systems are well understood. The D8H uses the D342 engine, which mechanics who have worked on Caterpillar equipment for decades can diagnose and repair without computer diagnostics. Parts remain available through both Caterpillar's remanufacturing programs and a robust aftermarket supply chain. A properly maintained D8H with a rebuilt undercarriage and a freshened powertrain can push a blade load for load alongside a modern D8 of comparable size and do it for a fraction of the hourly ownership cost. Number 8. The Caterpillar D8K, 1974. In 1974, Caterpillar introduced the D8K, the final production model in the long line of conventional drive D8 track-type tractors, before the company transitioned to its elevated drive sprocket undercarriage design with the D8L The D8K was produced until 1982 and represented the culmination of nearly 40 years of refinement in the conventional D8 design. The D8K came with 300 horsepower, a meaningful step up from the D8H's 270. And featured improvements to the hydraulic system along with a completely revamped operator environment. It was produced in two transmission variants, the direct drive 76-volt series and the PowerShift transmission 77-volt series, giving customers flexibility depending on their application. A fully equipped D8K with blade and ripper weighed in at almost 30 tons. What makes the D8K particularly interesting today is its mechanical simplicity relative to modern machines. The D8K contains none of the complex electronic control modules, emission systems, or computerized diagnostic requirements of a modern bulldozer. This makes it remarkably maintainable in environments where specialized technicians are scarce, remote mining operations, developing world infrastructure projects, and agricultural applications far from dealer support networks. Today, the D8K is widely regarded among operators and contractors as one of the most cost-effective heavy dozers money can buy in the used market. Well-maintained examples and fully rebuilt units command strong prices precisely because the machines are understood. Parts are available, and the performance, while not cutting-edge, is entirely adequate for the vast majority of large-scale earth-moving work. As one industry publication noted, many D8K units from the 1970s are still running strong, and their simple rebuildable design keeps older models in consistent demand across global markets. Number 7. The Caterpillar D9G. Of all the D9 series machines Caterpillar has ever built, and the D9 series has been in production since 1955, there is one variant that stands above all others in terms of historical impact and lasting reputation. That machine is the D9G. Introduced in The D9G was rated at 385 horsepower, a substantial figure for the era, and it remained in continuous production for 13 years. In the heavy equipment world, a 13-year production run is almost unheard of. Models change, designs evolve, and competitive pressure forces manufacturers to update their lineups regularly. For a single bulldozer variant to remain in essentially unmodified production for over a decade is a testament to how correct the D9G's design was when it was first introduced. During those 13 years, the D9G became the benchmark large bulldozer for major construction projects worldwide. It was used to build highways, clear forests, work in open pit mines, and push the largest wheel tractor scrapers of its era. In 1965, West Coast businessman Buster Peterson famously hooked up a pair of D9Gs to push load the largest wheel tractor scrapers being built at the time, a configuration so effective that Caterpillar bought the rights to the concept in 1968 and created the 770 horsepower D9G, essentially two D9Gs permanently coupled together in a tandem dozing configuration. The side-by-side D9G configuration, two D9Gs pushing a single 24-foot wide blade, also entered production in The D9G's legacy in mining is particularly relevant today. Rebuilt D9Gs and the D9H that replaced it in 1974, rated at 410 horsepower and still the most powerful conventional track-type tractor in Caterpillar's history, continue to work on mining haul roads and reclamation sites around the world. Their mechanical simplicity, the availability of parts, and the enormous base of operator and mechanic knowledge built up over 6 decades of production make them an economically rational choice for operations that need large-scale pushing power without the overhead of modern machine management systems. Number 6. The Caterpillar D10, 1977. In the fall of 1977, Caterpillar introduced something the bulldozer world had never seen before, the D10. At 700 horsepower, it was the most powerful track-type tractor ever built at the time of its introduction. It weighed 180,000 pounds. It could be ordered with a 19-foot U-blade, and that blade was 7 feet high and could push 35 cubic yards of material in a single pass. But the D10 wasn't just powerful. It introduced something that would permanently change how large bulldozers were built: the elevated drive sprocket undercarriage, also called the high drive system. Instead of placing the drive sprocket at ground level where it was constantly exposed to impact damage, mud and rock, Caterpillar elevated the sprocket above the track, creating a triangular track configuration. This design dramatically reduced strain and shock loads on the final drives, gave the undercarriage more ground clearance, and made the undercarriage modular, meaning individual components could be removed and replaced without disassembling the entire machine. The D10 was in production from 1978 to 1986. And during that time, nearly 1,000 were built at Caterpillar's East Peoria, Illinois plant. That might sound like a small number, but for a machine in this weight and power class, it represents a significant market penetration. The D10 outsold competitive offerings from Fiat Alice and Komatsu combined during its production run. Today, surviving Caterpillar D10s are treasured by mining operations and large-scale contractors for the same reasons they were purchased in the first place: raw pushing power, a robust elevated drive undercarriage that can be rebuilt and extended, and mechanical systems that are fundamentally simpler than anything built after the D10's twin-turbocharged D348 V12 engine, the same power unit used in the Caterpillar 777 off-highway hauler, is well understood by experienced mechanics and fully supported by Caterpillar's remanufacturing programs. A properly rebuilt D10 is still one of the most productive large dozers on Earth, capable of outpushing machines that cost many times more to purchase new. Number 5. The Caterpillar D11N, 1986. The Caterpillar D11N was officially introduced in February 1986 to replace the D10, and it arrived with specifications that left the competition stunned. It was powered by a Caterpillar 3508 V8 engine, delivering 770 horsepower. It weighed 204,517 pounds. Its U-blade was just under 21 feet wide and carried a blade capacity of 45 cubic yards. These were numbers that no other production bulldozer could match at the time. The D11N carried forward the elevated drive sprocket undercarriage concept introduced on the D10 and refined it further. It also introduced a modular design philosophy that would define Caterpillar's large bulldozers for decades. Individual components like the engine and transmission could be replaced or serviced without disassembling the entire machine, dramatically reducing downtime in mining environments where an idle dozer is a very expensive problem. In 1987, a hydraulically powered impact ripper was added to the D11N option list, raising the equipped machine weight to 225,950 pounds. This impact ripper could fracture rock that would stop conventional rippers cold, opening up hard rock mining applications that previously required blasting. The D11N was eventually succeeded by the D11R in 1996 and then the D11T in 2008, each delivering incremental improvements in power, efficiency, and operator technology. But here's the thing, D11Ns built in the late 1980s are still operating at mining sites today. The elevated drive undercarriage, properly maintained and rebuilt when necessary, has proven capable of accumulating extraordinary service hours. The mechanical systems are robust and well supported, and in mining operations where production metrics are everything, an experienced D11N operator who knows the machine intimately can match or exceed the productivity of a less experienced operator on a modern, technology-laden replacement. The D11N represents the point at which Caterpillar achieved true dominance in the large bulldozer market, a dominance that continues today. It is no accident that machines from this era are still working productively 4 decades after they were built. Number 4. The Caterpillar D9R, 1996. The Caterpillar D9R began development in 1988 and was released in 1995, a remarkably long development program for Caterpillar. Undertaken at a time when competitive pressure from Komatsu was intensifying, and customers were demanding improvements in reliability, productivity, and operating costs. The D9R delivered. It was rated at 405 horsepower and used Caterpillar's established elevated drive undercarriage system. It featured clutch and brake steering, a more traditional steering system than the differential steering introduced on later models, and its powertrain was built around the 3408 HEUI V8 engine, a motor so well understood and well supported by the dealer network that it became a benchmark for reliability in this class of machine. The D9R's production story is remarkable. It was manufactured for 25 years before being replaced, and in all that time, Caterpillar made relatively few fundamental changes. This is deliberate. As one of Caterpillar's lead engineers on the program noted publicly, the company deliberately avoided changing things that worked well. The long-time production experience gave customers enormous confidence in what to expect in terms of operating costs and reliability, effectively reducing the business risk of operating a large dozer fleet. The D9R worked in coal mining in Russia, heavy construction in the Middle East, mining operations in Africa, and road building in some of the most challenging terrain on Earth. One early D9R assignment sent machines into the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, where the State Department of Transportation was building a new interstate through terrain rising to 4,000 feet in elevation with highly variable soil conditions, a project that involved 25 million cubic yards of roadway excavation. The D9Rs performed so well in this assignment that their progress reports were regularly sent to Caterpillar's executive office. Today, D9Rs remain in production under the D9GC designation. Essentially, the D9R design maintained for customers who want proven reliability over technological complexity. This is Caterpillar formally acknowledging that the D9R's 1990s design is still competitive in 2024. Machines from the original D9R production run that have been properly maintained are among the most sought-after large dozers in the used equipment market. Number 3. The Komatsu D155A. Komatsu has been building the D155A series since the 1980s, and across multiple generations from the D155A1 through the current D155A8, this machine has established a reputation for reliability and durability that rivals anything built by Caterpillar in the same size class. The D155A is powered by Komatsu's own SA6 D140 engine family, a 6-cylinder turbocharged and aftercooled diesel that in its D155A5 configuration delivers 302 horsepower at 1,900 RPM. The machine weighs approximately 85,000 pounds in standard configuration and carries one of Komatsu's distinctive Sigma dozer blade options, a design with a curved moldboard profile that captures and carries more material than a conventional blade, increasing productivity on long dozing cycles. The D155A's legacy in heavy industries is built on a foundation of consistent real-world performance across extremely varied conditions. These machines have worked in Australian coal mines, Southeast Asian infrastructure projects, Middle Eastern construction, and South American mining operations. The torque converter design reduces shocks to the drivetrain during heavy pushing, extending component life in the demanding applications where D155As are most commonly deployed. Older D155A2 and D155A3 units from the late 1980s are still encountered on job sites and command genuine market value as work machines rather than parts donors. Their mechanical systems, while containing fewer of the electronic controls of later generations, are robust and serviceable by any competent Komatsu-trained mechanic. The modular powertrain design that Komatsu implemented across the D155A series makes component removal and replacement significantly faster than older conventional designs. What makes the older D15Rs particularly interesting today is that they work on jobs that would have justified a much larger machine if the older units hadn't been available. Properly rebuilt early D15Rs do meaningful work in mining haul road maintenance, large-scale site clearing, and earth-moving operations that might otherwise require a newer, more expensive machine, and they do that work at dramatically lower cost per hour once the initial rebuild investment is amortized. Number 2. The Caterpillar D8H's replacement. Caterpillar's D8 family occupies a unique place in bulldozer history because of the sheer continuity of the bloodline. The D8 has been in production since 1935, 90 years of continuous development in a single model family. But it is the D8H to D8K to D8L transition period, from the late 1950s through the early 1980s, that produced machines whose combination of raw capability and mechanical simplicity makes them genuinely competitive with modern mid-range bulldozers. The D8L, introduced in 1982, was the first D8 to use the elevated drive sprocket undercarriage that had been pioneered on the D10 in 1977. This was a significant upgrade. The elevated sprocket gave the D8L dramatically better undercarriage life in rocky and abrasive conditions compared to its flat-track predecessors. It was also the first D8 to achieve true heavy dozer status in the modern sense, with specifications that made it competitive against equipment from Komatsu and Fiat Alice that had been building bigger machines while Caterpillar focused on the D9 and D10. The D8L was rated at 335 horsepower and weighed in at just over 100,000 pounds in full configuration. It remained in production until 1987, when Caterpillar's model number realignment, which saw the D9N replace the D8L and a new, smaller D8N take the D8 designation at a lower power class, ended its production run. This realignment caused considerable confusion in the market at the time, but the machines themselves continued working. D8L bulldozers are still active on job sites today because the machine hit a critical sweet spot. Large enough to do serious heavy earth-moving work, small enough to transport without specialized heavy-haul equipment, and built with an elevated drive undercarriage system whose long-term costs are well understood. The D8 ecosystem, the vast parts network, the dealer rebuild capability, and the enormous base of mechanical knowledge accumulated over 9 decades means that virtually any D8 series machine from this era can be kept running economically for as long as the owner is willing to invest in maintenance. And for many operators, that investment makes more sense than buying new. Number 1. The Caterpillar D9G, D9H. We've arrived at the top of the list. And here is where we need to have an honest conversation about what it means to be the greatest bulldozer ever built. It doesn't mean the biggest. The Komatsu D575A is bigger. It doesn't mean the most powerful. The Cat D11T has more horsepower. It doesn't mean the most technologically advanced. Every modern GPS-equipped dozer leaves the D9G and D9H in the dust on that front. What it means is this: the greatest bulldozer is the one that, when you look at the full picture, production volume, versatility, operator experience, economic performance, durability, and lasting legacy, stands above everything else that has ever turned a set of tracks. By that standard, the Cat D9G and D9H are the greatest bulldozers ever built. The D9G, introduced in 1961 at 385 horsepower, stayed in production for 13 years, an unmatched record for a large bulldozer. The D9H replaced it in 1974 at 410 horsepower and is still recognized by Caterpillar as the most powerful conventional track-type tractor in company history. Together, these two machines defined what a large bulldozer should be for an entire generation of operators, contractors, and manufacturers around the world. They built the interstate highway system. They worked the great open-pit copper mines of the American Southwest. They cleared jungles and built airstrips during military conflicts. They pushed scrapers and graders on the world's largest dam projects. They worked in forests, quarries, coal mines, and construction sites on every inhabited continent. The scale of what the D9G and D9H physically moved during their production years, the cubic yards of earth that passed under their blades, is simply incalculable. And they're still working. This is the most important fact of all. Nearly half of the large bulldozers that Caterpillar currently sells are D9 series machines, a statistic that reveals just how deeply the D9's design philosophy has embedded itself into the industry's operational culture. And while those modern D9s are different machines in important ways, the original D9G and D9H units that are still running on job sites today demonstrate that the fundamental engineering choices made in the early 1960s were so correct that they have withstood 6 decades of competitive pressure, technological change, and relentless daily use. A properly rebuilt D9G can cost a fraction of what a modern comparable dozer sells for. The parts are widely available. The mechanics who know these machines are numerous. in part because so many were built, and in part because Caterpillar's dealer network has supported them continuously for over 60 years. The operating cost per hour, when the low purchase price is factored in, can be competitive with machines half their age and 3 times their price, and on a job site that needs reliable heavy-duty pushing power without the complexity of modern machine management systems. A D9G or D9H in good condition is not a compromise. It is a solution. That is why, in a world full of $600,000 bulldozers loaded with electronics, GPS, and automated systems, a 1960s-era Caterpillar D9G is still showing up to work every day and outperforming expectations every time. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.